we get to this week's video, we got a microphone to give away. And for those of you that watched last week's video but didn't watch all the way to the very end, you missed out on a secret giveaway. So it's kind of a fun way of giving back to you guys by doing kind of a secret little giveaway that I really don't promote on social media. It's just kind of a way of me saying thanks to you guys for helping to support me. So we are going to be giving away a Rode VideoMic Pro R. This is a really, really good microphone. And basically all you had to do was go to a certain page on my website, fill out your name, fill out your email address, and submit it that way. And there was 170 of you guys that entered to win the contest. And so basically I had Siri choose a random number between 1 and 170. Siri chose number 112. So I went down the list of all the emails to the 112th person to enter. It's a fellow by the name of Gregory Standert. I think I might have pronounced your name right, but you are the winner. I will reach out to you in probably a day or two just to give you opportunity to maybe see it on this video here. And then I'll get your shipping address and I'll mail you out that microphone. But I just want to thank everyone for participating. I'm going to do more of this sort of secret giveaway stuff just to reward those of you guys who have been avid watchers, and I definitely appreciate that. And on a kind of unrelated, possibly related note, I did my taxes yesterday. And it was interesting because basically I derive my entire photography income from your guys' support in terms of the book sales, in terms of the contributions, all that sort of stuff. And I have a lot of expenses as far as when I do my photography, as far as the film, the processing, the travel, the taking time off work, doing all that sort of stuff. At first, I was a little bit discouraged from the standpoint that the amount of my expenses was pretty much equal to the amount that I was able to earn off my landscape photography this year. At first, I saw it as a little bit of a failure from the standpoint that, you know, ideally, I'd love to be able to support myself doing this. But when the expenses are so high, it's kind of like a roadblock in the way that it kind of gets in the way of what I wanted to do. But then I started thinking about it from another level, which is a standpoint that if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to even pay those expenses to begin with. So it's because of you guys that I'm able to do this. And literally every dollar counts because it came down to basically, you know, zero at the end. And so I would love to be able to support myself doing this. And I think I'll be able to do that if I find ways, being a bit more smart about trying to find other ways to make a living off of this. But it just shows that every dollar counts. You guys are amazing. I definitely appreciate support from the contributions, the book sales, the t-shirts and all that. So I definitely appreciate it. So I just wanted to put that out there. But this week's video is all about me trying to reduce the amount of weight that I carry because I'm gearing up for my next trip, which will involve a little backpacking with an 8x10 camera. I hope you guys enjoy. What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to talk about some of the stuff that I've been doing lately to try to prepare for my next trip. And for the past few springs or so, I've gone to southern Utah, and it was about this time last year that I was preparing for a backpacking trip there. And I was trying to reduce the weight as much as I could to make it a little less of a burden to carry an 8x10 camera off into some of the canyons there in southern Utah. And unfortunately, I didn't quite get the ability to go on that trip last year because the weather just was not quite ideal for it. There was rain in the forecast, and if it was anything more than just a sprinkle, it would probably make it dangerous in some of the areas because there's some rivers you have to cross that would perhaps become kind of a raging torrent. And but also, you know, setting aside the safety standpoint, you just wouldn't really want to be in those canyons, even if it's cloudy, just because the whole point is being there with sunny blue skies. That way you have the reflected light that bounces around, and one little cloud floating over will completely change the character of the light. So it wasn't meant to be, but one of the things I did in preparation for that trip was buy a very lightweight camera, which was the Richard Ritter 8x10 camera. And that camera, obviously, we all know what happened to it. It got destroyed, but that camera was 6.5 pounds. And so my goal last year was to get my overall pack weight down to about 60 pounds. And I was able to do that, but most of that was coming from the camera itself. since I don't have that as a option anymore as my main camera, I'm gonna be using my Ebony camera, which is a camera I've backpacked with on all the other trips, but this thing is 10.5 pounds, and it's a little bit of a beast to carry on a backpacking trip. The nice thing is it folds down really compactly, really solidly, so I don't have to worry about it getting crushed in the pack, which is one of the concerns I had with the Ritter camera. But since I'm not able to save the weight on the camera, I've had to look at other ways of reducing the weight of my pack to try to get it under that 60-pound level. I will say that I was able to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the sort of stuff that I've done to help reduce the overall weight of my pack. And I've gone for some test hikes over the past couple of weeks. And this morning I went for a test hike, and my pack weight was 58.5 pounds. And I gotta say, it was really comfortable. The bag that I use is now discontinued, but it's from Gregory. It's the Denali Pro, and it's the one with the red and the black. The new one's kind of all black, but a very, very comfortable harness on it, and the 58.5 pounds was nothing. It was really, really comfortable to hold on to, and actually felt good to have that sort of resistance on my legs as I was hiking around. So that was definitely very promising. But one of the areas where I made a lot of weight reduction with my current setup is my video kit. Now, I typically carry along a Nikon D750. That's what I'm using to film this right now. And I like to use the 20mm 1.8 lens. Maybe like an ND filter on there, a really good mic from Rode to have really good audio, a 0 series Gitzo tripod, a little Manfrotto ball head. But all that gives me the exact audio that I want, it gives me the exact video I want. It works out really well, very easy to use, but it's got some weight to it. So one of the things I'm gonna do on this trip, at least for the backpacking part, is my video kit is gonna be this guy. So this is a Canon G7X Mark II. I used this for the first time on my fall trip to Zion. It worked really, really well on that trip. I was very happy with it. I can even use this footage alongside the footage from the Nikon, and it looked very similar in many cases, so I was happy with that. I like the fact that it has very easy access to manual controls. It's got the selfie screen, which we all know is very important. And there's some weird stuff about it too. There's no manual audio adjustment, so as far as the levels. So it's always on auto levels. So if I'm walking through a wash, I kind of step on a rock, it makes a loud kind of clanking sound. The audio is going to duck down briefly, but then it comes back up again. So I've kind of learned to deal with that. Also, there's no external mic input, so your mics are right up top there. So I'll put the little fuzzy things on there to reduce the wind noise. But I do like the fact that I can be very in the moment with this for doing video. I just have the ability just to, pull this out, do the video. So that's something that I do really like about using this for doing video. There's another weird thing too. When you record video, it's going to be in a continuous autofocus mode unless you throw it in manual focus. So they don't have like a one-shot focus mode, which would be pretty ideal, where you can just lock focus and then record. So you do have to either hit the button on the back to switch it to manual focus mode, or hit the area on the touch screen to throw it into manual focus. In the autofocus, it kind of drifts a little from time to time, which doesn't really look the best. One of the other reasons why I'm using this as my video kit, I do like the Canon user interface better than some of the other brands, so it's pretty easy to use. But this is one of the very few cameras from Canon that is USB rechargeable. And that is important because I'm going to be taking probably 2 batteries with me. But since I will need much more than that, that might be a day and a half's worth of power, I have the ability to solar charge it. So I have this, which is now a discontinued unit from Goal Zero, but this is the Nomad 3.5 solar panel. And basically it feeds power to a battery pack, and I'm using one of the little flip ones from them, the smallest of the flip style USB power packs. But basically that will charge this up, and at the end of the day I can go ahead and plug the camera to that and charge up the battery. But the other thing that's nice is that this same battery pack can recharge my headlamp. It also can power up the Spot satellite messenger that I have. So just a good thing to have, and it's pretty lightweight setup. And then as far as a taller tripod, I have this zip shot tripod from Tamarack, which is now discontinued. This is the taller one. Very, very lightweight. And actually on the first backpacking trip I went on, I actually just strapped this to one of my trekking poles, so it was always accessible. So this would give me the higher sort of tripod angles and also very lightweight. So that is my video kit, making a little bit of a compromise as far as audio, but based on what I've done with that camera in the past, I think it'll be just fine. I think you guys will be very happy with how that works out. Another area that I decided to find some ways to save weight is water filtration. And in southern Utah, a lot of the flowing streams have a lot of sediment in them. And where I'm going, you can filter the water. It's not horribly filled with sediment. There's some areas there's so much sediment you can't do anything with it. But the area where I'm going, it's just a bit of sediment in there where it'll eventually clog up any pump that you have. And over the past few trips I've gone to these areas, I can probably pump a good amount of water, but I gotta clean the filter. I've used one from MSR, and that worked out pretty well, but ultimately it was more so the bulk of it, which was a little bit difficult to work with. So I was looking for a very lightweight and simple solution, and I think my goal for this trip is to rough filter the water first through a little felt strainer thing that I have to get any of the bigger stuff out, and then use these guys right here, the Katadyn MicroPure MP1 tablets. And I've not used these in the field yet, but I'm hoping they do the job quite well as far as being super lightweight. It's supposed to not add any bad taste to the water. And after about a half hour, the water is drinkable, but 4 hours is the full amount of time it takes. Just 1 tablet per liter of water. So I think this right here might be a good solution to have very, very minimal weight for the water filtration. And my backup would be to boil the water, which I'll be able to do that as well, but I think those would do quite well. Another area that I end up carrying a lot of weight is film holders. And the main film holders I've used for a while now are these guys. So these are the Toyo film holders. I really like them. They're built really well. I haven't had any issues with any light leaks or anything. I have some older Fidelity holders that I've kind of made it to my black and white kit. So I'm not using them for color stuff anymore just because one of them was a little suspect, and I'm still kind of at the experimental phase with black and white where if it takes me ruining a sheet of film to figure out which one's the bad one, I'm okay with that. But these are a bit heavy, especially since I carry 4 of them. And that's about the most that I can carry in terms of bulk when I am on the backpacking trips. So what I did is I ordered in some of these guys. So these are the Chamonix film holders. It's made of wood versus plastic, and the wood ones are lighter weight. It's apparent when you pick it up compared to the Toyo ones, but by the time you have 4 of them, it really becomes more noticeable. These will save me probably about 1.5 pounds of weight. They're gonna be a bit more fragile because they're wood, so I have to be a little bit more careful with that. And in a perfect world, I would fully test these before going on a trip. I still might do that if I get a chance, just by putting some photo paper in there and then run it through a developer, just to make sure everything is all fine as far as no light leaks. But it has a carbon fiber dark slide, try to keep things light. And the only thing I really did as far as modifying them, I took off the labels that they put on them. I just put on these sort of labels here. This so I can identify which side of the dark slide, one of them's gonna have a label, one of them won't. I always have the white for unexposed film, and then if I have it where there's no label facing, it'd be either exposed or empty. But that way I can kind of label everything. But they come with really nice holders, or I should say cases for them. So I think that will do pretty well to reduce the weight. The other thing too, so when I was planning for my backpacking trip last year, a good friend of mine and also fellow photographer, Jim Becia, he recommended that instead of using this as my normal lens, this is the Nikon 300mm f5.6 lens. I absolutely love this lens. I've taken this on many backpacking trips in the past. But instead of taking this, and this weighs 2.5 pounds, I should really consider getting one of these guys. So this is the Fujinon 300C, very compact lens. It's a 1/2 pound versus 2.5 pounds. And the weight savings is pretty dramatic on this guy. And I'm always a little hesitant with new equipment as far as lenses until I fully get a chance to test them out. And I did have the ability to test it out on my winter trip, because once my Ebony camera broke, I was using the Ritter camera as a backup, and I really can't use this lens on the Ritter. There's a little too much weight for it. but this with a Linhof to CNR adapter did just the trick. So I was very happy with this. I did some really high resolution scans of film that were shot with this. I didn't see any weirdness. I was very happy with the sharpness. I had enough room for movements. So I'll definitely be happy with this. The other thing too, it's really hard to screw a cable release to these guys. It's just hard to get in there. And so I have this cable release extender here where I can just attach it. I probably should also just get a dedicated cable release and put it right on this. And that way I have just another way of storing a backup cable release, which is important. It's important to have backups on stuff. But overall, that is what I've done to reduce the amount of weight I'm carrying. So even with the Ebony camera, I've been able to get my pack weight down to about 58.5 pounds. That includes 2 liters of water, food, everything else. Part of the stuff that I'm not showing here, but as far as my other backpacking gear, for shelter, I'm using the Outdoor Research Helium Bivy. Very, very lightweight. This will be my 3rd year using it. It's very comfortable to sleep in. And the nice thing about it is I can go ahead and take my sleeping pad and just stick it in there and roll the whole thing up and just strap it to the side of my bag. And very, very fast to set up, very, very comfortable to sleep in. Probably wouldn't be the best if I knew I was gonna have bad weather because you're basically just in a bag. And there's not a lot of way of getting air in there if you have it sealed up. So if there's condensation, that's gonna be a problem. But for where I'm going, as far as fair weather, it's just kind of an emergency shelter. Keeps the bugs out of my mouth when I sleep in the middle of the night. But I think that'll work out really well. But overall, I'm very happy the fact I was able to get the pack down to 58.5 pounds. And when Intrepid comes out with their 8x10 camera, I should be able to shave another like 4 or 5 pounds off that to really get it down to a very comfortable weight. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week.